Welcome. You're watching The Big Question. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Just days ago, Pahalgam was bustling with tourists, but that peace was shattered in an instant as a brutal ambush claimed the lives of 26 innocent people, marking perhaps the deadliest civilian attacks by terrorists on Indian soil since 26/11. This time round, it's India's diplomatic offensive that has first struck Pakistan. The government has launched a 5-point diplomatic attack on Pakistan, the most significant among which is the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, a landmark pact signed in 1960 that governs the sharing of river waters between the two countries and has stood through previous wars and attacks. But not anymore. Suspending the treaty is significant as the treaty has formed a cornerstone of Indo-Pak relations. 80% of Pakistan's water supply depends on these rivers. It's an agricultural lifeline for its provinces in Punjab and Sindh that are fed by these rivers. And as the lower riparian country, since the rivers flow downstream, Pakistan now stands vulnerable. While the impact will not be felt immediately, since it doesn't mean an immediate halt to water flowing to Pakistan, it's a significant message that has been sent. India has also closed the Atari-Wagah border checkpost, halting all cross-border movement of both goods and people. Individuals who have already crossed over with valid documents will be allowed to return and have to return by 1st of May. India has also suspended the SARC visa exemption scheme, and Pakistani nationals who are currently in India under the scheme have been given a strict 48-hour deadline to leave. India has also downgraded diplomatic engagement between the two nations. India has expelled all Pakistani military advisors stationed in New Delhi and will also withdraw its own military advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. The number of diplomatic personnel in Islamabad will also be reduced to 30, down from the current 55. The diplomatic action came after the cabinet security meet attended by the government's top brass. Listen in to the Foreign Secretary who briefed the media last evening.
The Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. 2. The integrated checkpost Atari will be closed with immediate effect. Those who have crossed over with valid endorsements may return through that route before 1 May 2025. 3. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India under the SARC visa exemption scheme visas. Any SVES visas issued in the past to Pakistani nationals are deemed cancelled. Any Pakistani national currently in India under SVES visa has 48 hours to leave India. 4. The Defence, Military, Naval and Air Advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own Defence, Navy and Air Advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. These posts in the respective High Commissions are deemed annulled. 5 support staff of the service advisors will also be withdrawn from both High Commissions. 5. The overall strength of the High Commissions will be brought down to 30 from the present 55 through further reductions to be effected by 1st May 2025.
To speak on this, I'm joined by Rajiv Dogra, former Consul General Karachi, and G. Parthasarthi, former Ambassador to Pakistan. Ambassador Parthasarthi, let me start with your take on some of the measures that India has announced yesterday, including cancelling of all visas of any Pakistani nationals, asking any Pakistani nationals in the country to leave in 48 hours, the Indus Water Treaty, etc. Do you see this as a first line of diplomatic offence?
Well, look at it this way. We are talking to the people of Pakistan. And the fact of the matter is, we've kept our doors open for them to travel to India, including the school and college kids. And when we close that, it reaches every home in Pakistan. And there is a clear thing that we are now so seriously tied up with the government of Pakistan that we are just not in a position to carefully look after their people as we would. This is a major signal which we have already sent. That not that it is going to bother the military anymore, but it has its political impact. The second point is that we have a very funny Pakistani army chief, General Asim Munir. He's quite a spectacle. I've known and spoken and dealt with everybody from General Musharraf to General later on, many of the others. The fact of the matter is, Asim Munir seems to be even very different from his mentor, General Bajwa, who is pretty well balanced and disposed in his relations with India and talking about India. So this is in a way an advantage to us. They are tying themselves up in knots. Secondly, I think the first decision was just to take it by step. But no, I think this time it was an attack on the heart of Kashmir. It's the heart on the attack on the hearts of our people by killing our two tourists out there. And I think the government also realized that there is weakness. This is a situation which people in India won't tolerate. Now, this is happening at a situation when the Pakistan economy is failing. They live from dole to dole, which they receive from abroad. And they are in no position to really do serious things. In fact, if you take what is happening now, this army chief is talking on quite a different tone from Shehbaz Sharif, the prime minister. So this is, and quite obviously, these moves have been started by him. And it started by creating problems in Jammu and Kashmir. He thinks that is our Achilles heel. So he has learned his lesson now that even people of Jammu and Kashmir will not tolerate this. So as far as I am concerned, we are now agreed on certain measures we are going to take about diplomatic relations, cutting down the size of the air. Sadly, now we putting down the scholarships we had granted to some of the younger kids and so on. But it is a message which is sent to the people of Pakistan. Here we are educating your kids, and you have forced us to do this. So it really puts the Pakistan establishment, especially their rather weird army chief, General Asim Munir, who was virulent about India and Indians. Now, I have dealt with others, and I'm sure others have, but Pakistani generals, even Musharraf at the height of Kargil, did not speak in such a crude and lewd manner as the present army chief. But the message to Pakistan is very clear. You are now going to pay a price. The day of, having the gloves on are over. The economic ties now virtually end, and that there will be other measures to follow.
So in terms of perspective, and Rajiv Togra, let me bring this question to you, sir. When was the last time that India applied these kind of measures vis-a-vis Pakistan, where some diplomats, Pakistani diplomats, have been sent off, the Atari border sealed, all of these visas under SARC suspended, etc. When is the last time we have done this? Because we need to give perspective to our viewers on how important and appropriate these measures are.
Well, the last time was a personal experience immediately after the Babri Masjid incident, when they reduced the size of our consulate in Karachi, and we had reciprocal measures with regard to their High Commission in Delhi. But the really last time, if you ask me, was 1971, when we closed everything down and taught them a lesson that they did not forget for a long time. So in terms of a message to Pakistan after 1971, I think this is a theoretical message that has gone out to Pakistan that, look, we are serious and there is more to come if you don't behave, if you don't mend your ways, and if you don't autocorrect. The attention has been given in our panel discussions on television and in Indian media largely on Indus waters and downsizing of the missions, the recalling of the defense personnel from both sides. But we are missing the larger point. At the near end of Foreign Secretary's statement last evening, he pointed out that we will go after the perpetrators of this terror and also those who are the sponsors of this terror. I think we, in our excitement, missed this, which was the most important point of yesterday's CCS meeting and the message which was conveyed to Pakistan, Pakistan's public, and Pakistan's establishment, particularly Munir. Now, taking off from where Ambassador Parthasarathy left on the issue of this crude general, let me make one comparison with his immediate predecessor. General Bajwa, when the Balakot was escalating, he went to the parliament. According to Pakistani parliamentarians' record of that, he went to parliament, his legs were trembling. He said, please release the Indian pilot, otherwise hell will break out. So he realized the gravity of the situation. Second, when one of our missiles, it sort of misfired or was misdirected and accidentally landed in Pakistan, General Bajwa controlled the situation. So that is how a good army chief should behave. Otherwise, even in the second incident, something terrible or some greater mishap could have happened. In contrast, Munir gave a public statement and his face had to be seen. It was like a wild man ranting, Hindu, 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 and so on. And the message was quite connected to what happened in Pahalgam.
Yeah.
Hindus were targeted. So clearly, Munir seemed to be a fundamentalist and a terrorist in army uniform who was directing these people who were shooting Hindus in Pahalgam. So I think for the people of Pakistan, this should be a red warning that please control your army chief who's gone wild.
In terms of an answer that India wants to give, and you made a point, which is why I'm going to follow up, Mr. Dogra. You made a point that the message that we're giving is that you better autocorrect, or more will come. My question is that, is this a message to autocorrect, or is this the first warning shot, in a sense, from India's side? Because now we are having a meeting, an all-party meeting, the next steps will be decided. If you look at the scale of the attack this time round, where there are innocent civilians and the way they've made a spectacle out of it, is it going to end with these diplomatic measures?
See, autocrat and autocorrect is one and the same thing. Munir is an autocrat, everyone knows that. And that is the title of my latest book, incidentally. But autocorrect by an autocrat is quite a difficult issue because he thinks his ego will be hurt if he autocorrects. So in that case, you have to do some follow-up action so that he is corrected and he is brought to line. What that action is, only the political leaders of the country and the army personnel would decide. But Pakistan, in the meanwhile, according to reports I've read today, is also having its own National Security Council meeting. So Pakistan will also, perhaps under directions of General Munir, decide on a course of action and will issue a statement. So let's see whether they are apologetic, whether they are willing to step back a little bit, which I doubt very much. But let's give the benefit of the doubt. As far as India is concerned, Indian people will not rest easy this time. It has gone on for too long, too many times, and too many of our innocent civilians have been hurt. As I keep saying, that look at Ukraine war. Neither Ukraine nor Russia have targeted civilians in the last 3 years. If any bomb has fallen, it is accidental. Here, Pakistan keeps on targeting our civilian population. Bombay, twice, 93 and then 26/11. Any number of train blasts have taken place. So Pakistan has made it a habit that bleed India not by 1,000 cuts, but by 1,000,000 cuts. So there has to be a stop to this. We cannot afford to lose even a single more civilian life.
You know, in terms of the point, Ambassador Parthasarathy, and the statement of the Foreign Secretary, which was referred to, that we will bring them to justice and their sponsors as well. What is the next step that you see playing out here?
Look, quite clearly, we are going to push this through diplomatically. Now, the Americans have come out in our support. European Union countries have come out in our support. Even China has kept its mouth shut and has, in fact, spoken about problems we've had in somewhat positive terms. So I think the likes of the general are taking Pakistan also into diplomatic isolation. Even, as I said, even China expressed their views about the recent attacks. So you have to look out at this growing thing, the pressures which they are feeling. Their economy is broke. They have nowhere to go. They live literally from foot to mouth. So we have all the advantages, and I am quite certain we are now going to push it hard. We are now going to make it very clear that acts of terrorism will be repaid heavily. And let me add, and I'm quite frank, I retired a long time ago, and let me add, within Pakistan, you have a Punjabi government at war with everybody else, especially the military part of it. If you ask me, Prime Minister is a more balanced person, and that the fact is that they are having serious internal problems also with both the Baloch and the Pashtuns. Remember, these are on their borders, and they've had shootouts in Sindh and elsewhere, and they're what is being to test more by their internal problems than
No, so frankly, I mean, I think at this point, no one quite cares about Pakistan's internal problems. There are two things. To what end does this diplomatic messaging actually work? And I'm coming back, Mr. Dogra, to the point you made of, what are we trying to get Pakistan to do right now? Because they are denying that they have anything to do with this. We know that they're lying. And this will continue and go on. What is the aim over here? Is it international isolation? They're fairly isolated already. Is it to cut off any aid going their way? Will the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty actually hurt? What is the outcome that we would hope for?
Well, the answer to your questions is yes, and I'll explain why I'm saying yes. International pressure works. Please remember, during the time of Kargil, it was international pressure in India's favor that worked, that forced Pakistan to climb down, that forced Musharraf to bend down, withdraw his troops from the heights, and that forced Nawaz Sharif to be humiliated by Clinton in Washington on 4th of July. So international pressure does work. Let's see how it goes. But international pressure also has its limits. After all, at the end of the day, the responsibility is ours. We have to make sure that Pakistan, as a snake, does not raise its head again. That head has to be smashed so that this issue is finished forever. Whether we can do it or not, that's a different thing. And as I said earlier also, it is a decision that political leadership and the military and the defense leadership of the country has to take, keeping all aspects in view, because war is serious business and it can hurt both sides. So we have to be cautious on what kind of aggression or what kind of moves we have in mind and how much can we move in that direction. So I think our government is careful. They will take decisions that they feel will not further hurt India, but on the contrary, make a deep message militarily, politically, diplomatically, which we've already done to some extent, to Pakistan, that thus far and no further.
Yeah. Ambassador Parthasarathy, on the point of international condemnation, I think we should focus a little bit on what the statement was from the White House press secretary, where she talked about the American President Donald Trump, and his message to ally India. That's the term that she also used. The fact that this happened while J.D. Vance, the US Vice President, is in India, and the timing and coincidence of it. How important and crucial does that become from the point of view of not just lip service and condemnation, but bringing down to bear pressure on Pakistan?
It's they have put themselves in a position where they have found that President Trump has no time for them. He dislikes what they are doing, and the Americans have thrown their back support completely to us. This has continued ever since our Prime Minister visited and met Trump recently. We were worried about that. That has been most important American, because it's American money they kept. Secondly, China has not opened its mouth. They're always their friend. The country which gave them nuclear weapons and missiles has not opened its mouth on this. And as I think realized they've gone too far. And also now they have their own access to ground and better relations with India. The same is true of the Europeans. Oddly enough, the British have been rather reticent, but that's very British about it. And I think Mr. Modi and Mr. Jaishankar have played their diplomatic cards beautifully. The military has sent the message that they are prepared and ready. And Pakistan is in a situation facing bankruptcy on the one hand and internal problems on the other. While having an army chief who lives in another world and has to eat his words every time he utters some rubbish. So the fact is, India has played its cards well, especially the Prime Minister returning immediately and action being taken. The External Affairs Minister, in turn, making clear where they stand, and the military doing what it has to do. So right now, he may be the army chief, but I'm not sure how clear his corps commanders are ready to go to do things which he wants them to do.
On the China factor, Mr. Dogra, let me get your point of view as well, because this is something Ambassador Parthasarathy has emphasized, and it's important. Biggest financiers, biggest backers of Pakistan under pressure right now from the United States as well, and that whole trade war jamboree going on in the backdrop of what has happened in the region. What they do next also becomes crucial, and they're perhaps in the best position to bring down and bear pressure on Pakistan diplomatically.
Well, we have to keep in mind two things, that Pakistan somehow or the other collects its hafta from one country or the other. In recent months, World Bank has decided that it's going to give $2 billion every year for the next 10 years to Pakistan. Perhaps it has already been signed and sealed, but that's the promise World Bank has given. As far as China is concerned, in recent months, is extended many loans which were due. So somehow or the other, Pakistan goes almost to the brink, and it seems as if it's falling off the cliff, the economic cliff, but someone who comes in and sort of saves it at the last moment. I expect the same thing to happen. In any case, Pakistan economy is not much to talk about. It's just about 1/8 or 1/9 of India's size at best of times, sometimes even less. So there is not much that it is going to lose, even if defaults once or twice in the future. So economic pressure as such is not going to make much of a difference, because if one side applies economic pressure, the Saudi or UAE will step in and give it that little financial push. What will apply in terms of pressure on Pakistan is sheer physical threat that if you do not behave, then the cost on you would be very heavy, particularly their army. Now, how we can do it, or how anyone by sharing intelligence can help us, that remains to be seen. But it's going to be a tough job.
That's perhaps the next step that we will see as well. But in terms of a diplomatic message and putting that in perspective, this is the first time in over 4 decades, nearly 5 decades, that we have taken such strong steps and sent such a strong message. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us on the conversation today. The diplomatic shot has been fired. Are we going to see a military move next? International condemnation coming in? This is definitely a space to watch. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today on The Big Question.